Welcome back to the Hockey Show, and yes, the new king is back. Welcome back, everyone. I am back to bring you the awesome, the best, the most entertaining, intellectual, and the most undisputed best hockey content and opinions that you could possibly ask for. I am back, and today, to celebrate my coming back, we're going to be talking about the grandest prize in all of sports, and of course, that is the Stanley Cup. And we are in the close to the 30-game mark, or almost to the halfway point of the season. I decided my return video is going to be about my current thoughts on the Stanley Cup odds for all the teams. Now, I have a box here. I have a box of my new logos. I don't have to draw them anymore. And I'm just going to reach my hand in. I'm not going to look. I'm just going to reach over, grab one out, and I'm going to just give you my thoughts on the team, and I'm going to stick them here. I got Xmas, get it, for Christmas, and which means missing the playoffs. We got first round, second round, conference, and finalist. Now, these are more like tiers than rankings. It's kind of just my thoughts on where they should be in. If a team is in this category here, right, that means I think they're going to be out in that round. Or if I put them on the line, that means I think, okay, let's say the Kraken. You know what, let's just reach in here because I already know. The one team I know my thoughts on is the Kraken. So let's just start with them. So I'm going to put them right on the line of the first round. I think the Kraken are the type of team that I know they're going to make it to the playoffs. And I think they're going to be the type of team where they're kind of like the Minnesota Wild position. When they were in that whole in the 2010s, I think they're going to be that team that comes in. They're going to be really wild. They're going to be fun to watch, and they're going to take a good team, a team that we all know is really good, to the breaking point of a series. And I think they either get to a Game 7 and win, or they get to a Game 7 and lose. So I think they're right on the line of first round because I think they could maybe win the first round, but then they definitely lose in the second round. So I'm going to say they're going to be a first round, maybe win, maybe not win. Now let's go to the Winnipeg Jets. Now the Winnipeg Jets, to me, are going to be a playoff team this year. But to me, the Jets are interesting. They're the type of team that isn't going to lose in the first round. And this is not going to happen for all the teams. But they are always a team that they will lose to a better team. So if they run into Colorado, if they run into Dallas this year, I feel like they're going to lose. And it just kind of depends when they run into that really good team. So I think, especially in the Central Division, I kind of want to put them on the line here, but I'm going to put them... Let's just put them here in the second round. I think Winnipeg this year is a good jumping off point, and I think this is the year for them to build on next season and to really put. They already have a great all-around team, but they need that one extra piece that really sends them over the edge, you know? Next, we've got the New York Islanders. So now the Islanders, to me, are the team. I've said this a lot of times. They're a team that is especially built for the playoffs. So if they got into the playoffs, and I think they have a chance, as at least a wild card, I think, this year. If they can get into the playoffs, I could easily see them getting to the conference. But I could also, they either make it to the conference finals or they make it not in at all. So that's teams like this are very interesting to me because I think the Islanders are built for the playoffs. The way their system is built is for playoff hockey. But now, especially losing Trotz, and they're going to let them play a little bit more offensively. It's kind of an interesting situation. So to me, especially losing Trotz, it kind of shakes up their system, and I feel like they might lose a little bit of what made them that specially good team. So this might be controversial. I like the Islanders. I love Matthew Barzal. But to me, just the way their team is built this year, I think it's a different type of team, and I'm going to go first round. I think they make it in, but they're going to get knocked out by... Screw it. Let's say the New Jersey Devils. So the Devils easily going to make the playoffs this year. But they're a team that's young, and they don't have any of that playoff experience. So to me, the Devils are going to be this team that comes in this year and make it into the playoffs, and they're going to upset a team. I don't know how, but let's just say that the Lightning. They're going to be the team that knocks out the Lightning one way or another. they're not going to lose in the first round. I think they're going to go in hot-headed. They're going to go in fast and hard, and they're going to they're going to beat that first team they go up against. I think the second round, it will be a close one, but I would not be surprised, if the Devils are the type of team that could make it to the conference finals and then lose. They're that team that is like finally on that breakout year, and the players that they have and just how good they are doing and just how deep that roster goes, I just feel that this team, you know what? Let's be happy today. Let's say they make it to the conference finals. I think they can make it there. I truly think that they'd probably lose in the second round, but I think this team if they get to the conference finals, they're not making it to the final. So let's go with that. Next, we've got the Columbus Blue Jackets. Now, the Columbus Blue Jackets, they're obviously in a tough spot right now, so I think this is going to be our first miss. Now, of course, to me, Columbus is a team like the Islanders, where they could easily, if they made it into the playoffs, they'd be a hard-hitting team. They're going to be a team that really they are that type of, well, actually, now that I think about it, without Tortorella there, and they've moved Seth Jones, which I know he's kind of a laughingstock to a lot of people. I don't think he's that bad, but for their system, and now with Johnny Hockey, I don't know. But right now, they're missing the playoffs, so it doesn't really matter. I don't see them squeaking their way in. So next, let's go with, you know what? Yeah, let's go with the Oilers. So the Oilers right now are not, I don't think they're in a playoff spot, or they're right out of one. I think the Oilers will make the playoffs. I do think so, but I don't think they're going to be that heavy hitter they were last year. Last year, they finally made it to the conference finals, but with Kane's injury and their goaltending situation, I know Stuart Skinner's playing good, but I wouldn't say he's not playing like a Thompson right now, like that breakout goaltender. So, to me, just the Oilers right now, if they made it in, I don't think they have that same momentum. They don't have that same... They don't seem to have that same story going on for them right now. You know what I mean? So, for me, the Oilers, if they made it into the playoffs, I think this might be another down year, and I'm going to put them there. Which, out of the topper teams that I like, that some people might have opinions on certain players like McDavid or whatever, I like the Oilers in that group of teams. And to me, this just doesn't seem like their year. That momentum isn't with them. So if they make it to the playoffs, I don't see them going very far. And I know McDavid can will his any team to a series win, but this year just doesn't feel like the year. So I'm just gonna knock that out. I think if they made it into the first round, I think he gets like 20 points in the first round, but whatever. I don't think the team will win. Let's go with the Senators next. The Senators right now are in the playoffs, and I don't think they're going to make it in. The Senators, to me, just don't really have it. I think this is a good year for them, and I think next year could be a breakout year for them, and for like the Devils. But just this year, they just don't have the it factor, which I thought they could with all those guys coming up. Not with Giroux, but with DeBrincat, with Batherson, with Norris. I thought all that stuff would go together, but one of them's injured, right? I think Norris is injured. So, just things aren't really going for them right now. So, Ottawa is out, but I think it's an okay year. Let's go with the Hurricanes. Now, the Hurricanes, before the season, I said this could be a Stanley Cup team. I mean, I love the Hurricanes. This team is perfectly built for the playoffs, for the season, to be just all-around great. Just an all-around great team. But to me, they still have that problem of not having that real superstar player to really push them over the edge. And I really like the idea of them having like an evenly, like their first line, I would say, their second line's not as good as their first line, but their first line isn't, like, you know what I mean. You know that team. The Hurricanes, they just don't have the it factor on that team. And I don't really think they need one, but that's kind of what holds them down. But at the same time, that kind of keeps them up. So to me, the Hurricanes, I think, are conference finalists, is a team like that. But once again, this just doesn't feel like their year. Like this story doesn't seem like theirs this season. So I'm going to say they make it to the conference finals, but not the finals this year, which is underwhelming to me because I really like them. Let's just keep up the big team parade and go with the Lightning. Now, the Lightning, I mean, they've gone to the finals 3 years in a row and have been they made it, people kind of forget that they made it to the finals in 2016, was it? Or 15? Like, this team has been on top for a long time. It's just they finally broke through the last 3 years. So, the Lightning, I mean, what do you do with a team like this? Like, can they keep it up? I have always been the biggest fan of the Lightning. I used to live there. Like, they were at one point my favorite team. And to me, this just doesn't feel. Once again, this team just doesn't have the same feeling to it. I know the whole point of what made the Lightning great is that bottom six. They were always able to bring in new guys, but every single year that they've won the cup, they've been slowly losing guys. I know they would lose Goudreau anyways, but they lose Goudreau, not a big deal. But then they lose Yanni Gourde, then they lose Andre Palat this offseason, and now their bottom guys consist of, like, I know they're playing okay, but like guys like Patrick Maroon, guys like Corey Perry, especially at this point in their career, they're more, I don't want to say a joke, but they are more. That's not who you should have, like, the ones keeping around. So to me, I think this might be the year where the Lightning finally get knocked out in the second round. I think they make it past the first. I think they'll win against, let's say, Toronto again. That's who they would play, I think, right now if the playoffs started. But I think this year, I think they'll beat Toronto, like, in the first round or something. They'll beat I don't mean Toronto exactly, but, like, a good team in the first round, and then they'll run into another team, and they're just finally out of gas, and they lose to that team. So, since I spoke of them, let's talk about the Maple Leafs. Now, the Maple Leafs, the steam just doesn't seem to be there for them. I know Marner's has, like, a 17, 19 game point streak or something like that, which is great. But this just doesn't, once again, the momentum just doesn't feel like on their side, even though they are doing they're doing pretty good. I'm not saying they're not doing good, but it just doesn't seem like the same steam. I feel like last year was that year for them, and I know the whole thing is like, oh, well, they needed to taste losing. Well, they tasted losing for, like, what, the last 5 years? So for the Maple Leafs, this just doesn't seem like the year, and the whole Kyle Dubas thing going on, and Matthews kind of being slow right now. They're just not doing anything for me. And I really wanted to say, last night when I was thinking about this, I really wanted to say this is the year the Maple Leafs finally get past the first round. But just the way this team is right now, I just don't see it. I just don't see this team having what it takes to get past a team like the Lightning. Or like, well, actually none of them are popping up right now. So, or like the Panthers or something. So, I don't know. I grabbed the Blues. So let's talk about the Blues. So the Blues, I mean, when your team is talking about, this is the craziest flip-flop ever. I mean, one year the Blues go from, like, doing their whole, like, terrible, and they win the Stanley Cup, and then that kind of encompassed what their seasons in the future were. They were bad the next year, then they were seemed like a pretty good team that could maybe beat the Cup champs that finally won this year, and now they're back to being absolutely terrible. And I really thought they wouldn't do that. I thought this would be like the year for the Blues to maybe win the Cup again. But just the way that the season's going, you can't pick a team to win. And I know Tarasenko has had the talks before, and then he went on and had an amazing season. But a team that is talking about, like, actually trading him currently, like, that can't be good for a team. So the Blues, I'm going to say missing the playoffs. So let's talk about, you know what, let's save them. Let's talk about the San Jose Sharks. My guys, my team. The Sharks, I mean, they're going to miss the playoffs. They're not trying to make it in. This kind of our first really bad team to talk about. The Sharks just absolutely, I shouldn't say absolutely dreadful, but they're not trying to make the playoffs, and they're out. Guys like Timo Meyer's contract's ending. Erik Karlsson's finally playing amazing. Maybe they can move him out. This isn't a team trying to win. But the Karlsson talks are interesting to think and put into perspective with some other teams, which is the team I wanted to talk about next. There they are, which is the... Oh, shoot. My magnet just broke. Hang on. Oh. And I'm back. And we're going to talk about the Florida Panthers. So the Florida Panthers, I saw a really interesting idea of them trading for Erik Karlsson and moving out Bobrovsky. I think this would be a smart play for both teams. I know Bobrovsky's contract is ending soon, so it would be kind of bad for the Panthers because then they'd be taking on a bigger contract for even longer. But if Erik Karlsson can play this good right now with the Sharks of all teams, if he could go to the team like the Panthers that have amazing offense, I think the Panthers, if they made that move, I think this would, they would be better than last year, and I would say they're at least second to conference, right? I think they could win in the second round but get to the conference finals, and I think that would be interesting for them. So the Panthers, I think, would be an interesting move there. The Penguins. Now, the Penguins, I mean, they just had a huge shakeup because of Letang. So, I don't know. I don't really know what to think about this team. What happens when your best defenseman is gone for the whole season? You never know when he could even come back. So, I don't even know. I definitely thought they were making the playoffs, and they started losing a million games, and now they're still in the playoff race. I don't know. I would say if they make it in, they probably lose in the first round anyway. So I guess I'll put them there on that line. It just makes the most sense there. The Red Wings, a team I really wanted to make into the playoffs, and now, because of the whole problem with the Penguins, kind of leaves an opening in the wild card. Who knows? Maybe that could be the Red Wings. So for the Red Wings, just because I really like them, I'm going to stick them in this first round. I think they lose in the first round, but I think they could maybe make it in. Let's just start knocking out some of these teams that aren't making it. The Flyers started off well, but they're just not going to make it. I think if they did make it, they could probably go far. John Tortorella's system and the way that the Flyers is, I could easily see them being a team like the Islanders or something of years past, or the Blue Jackets, where they make it in and they can make it to the conference finals. But just, they're not going to make it in. The Flames, I don't see making the playoffs. I see them being the team left outside the wild card. They just don't have what it takes, and even if they made it in, I don't think they'd get past the first round. So the Flames, not really a big deal. The Chicago Blackhawks, once again, I should have their own category of just how idiotic they are. They're not making it in. They're not trying to. Let's see here. Any other teams I can see that aren't making it? The Bruins, the Buffalo Sabres, a team I really didn't think, a team I had high hopes for with Tage Thompson on there, and they started off well. They're a team that I think if they made it in, they would give a good fight to a good team, but I just don't see them making it in. If they made it, they'd get knocked out anyways. I see the one team that everyone obviously always knows is never going to make the playoffs, of course. That is the Arizona Coyotes, not making the playoffs, not even going to close. We all know that. Nothing to talk about there. The Ducks, that's an interesting one. The Ducks, not going to make it. I mean, we all know it. It's just not going to happen. The Ducks, they're not making the playoffs, so not a big deal. The Canadians, a team I really wanted to see go on a big run, but it just doesn't seem to be happening, so they're not making it in. Let's see here. And as all the other teams, the Capitals are an interesting one. I think with another thing with the Penguins dropping out, I think maybe the Capitals could steal it, but even if they made it in, I think they'd lose in the first round. So we're going to stick them there. Let's start off with the Predators. Let's get to the Predators. The Predators are the type of team that I really don't see. They're hard. I really thought they could go on a huge run this season. They just, to me, I really like their odds. The team, the way they were built, but that momentum, they just don't seem to have it. So I would say they make it in, but they lose in the first round again, which is unfortunate. Let's go with Minnesota, a team, they just don't have it either. They're not making it in. The Minnesota Wild, I'm going to say don't miss the playoffs. And let's start with Vancouver. Vancouver is not making the playoffs. I've made my decision now, not making the playoffs. All those teams not making the playoffs. Now, the rest of these are interesting. So let's start off with the Kings. So the Kings are going to make the playoffs. They are going to make it into the playoffs, but where? I think the way this team is built, they do have the potential to have a good play. They do have a team that could definitely play well against other teams. But do they make it that far? I mean, just look against, Do they beat the Kraken? Would the Kings say they face them in the first round? Would the Kings beat the Kraken? I think, you know what? I'll put them right there in the same way. Let's just say the Kings and the Kraken are the two teams that play against each other. They're second and third, who cares which way. And I think those two go the distance. They have an amazing series. It's the best series of the whole playoffs, the Kings and the Kraken. And one of them will make it out alive. But then they will lose to Vegas. Vegas is going to be, once again, in the runnings. And you know what? Vegas will be my first finalist that I'll put on the board. I think Vegas is... They are the team that they started out when they made it to the finals the first year, but now they have even more. And that all of those top two guys are playing well. The whole team's playing great. Vegas, to me, is just the perfect team this year, and they're finally, for them, for the way they play. And I think Vegas is finally in position, and maybe this might be their only year to do this, but I do think that Vegas will have a strong playoffs as long as they don't squander away a series like they did against the San Jose Sharks, because that they lost that themselves. They lost that series. The Sharks didn't win. They lost the series. So, yeah. Let's go on to Dallas, a team that I love. I think a perfectly built team to do really well, and I say they could be a finalist. I know that I think some people will say I'm crazy. Other people might say I'm absolutely correct. I don't really know. I definitely see them doing well. This team, I mean, they got to the finals against Tampa Bay in the bubble year, or the half bubble, whatever. And this team is even better than then, and their team's finally playing well. And, I mean, a whole series can be... Jake Ottinger, last year when the Stars were a joke to make it into the playoffs, Jake Ottinger almost won them that series against the Flames. Now the whole team's playing well, and Jake Ottinger's in net. I think this team is going to go on an absolute run, and I would not be surprised if they made it to the end. Let's talk about the New York Idiots. So the New York Rangers, I almost want to say not making the playoffs, but even if they did, they lose in the first round. They just don't have what it takes. They are just not that type of team. The Rangers, if they make it in, they are not the team they were last year, and they're going to get stomped. So they're going to get slapped out of the playoffs, and it doesn't even matter. Now let's talk about the defending Stanley Cup champions, the Colorado Avalanche. Now the Avalanche, to me, they are the type of team that, I mean, I know the joke is a joke, and I get it, but they really are the type of team to me that will either lose in the second round or win the Stanley Cup. That is who the type of team they are. So I don't know where to put them, because they either lose in the second or win the Stanley Cup. That's how it works. They're not going to lose in the first. They're not going to lose in the conference. And they're not going to lose here. They will only lose in the second round. And I don't know if I put them in the finalist. Well, they could lose in the finals, but they have gotten to the finals. So they're either in the second round or the finalists. And this team is always so hard for me to pick, because even when I do my fantasy brackets or whatever, I'm always like, this team will either lose to this team in Dallas in the second round, or they will get past Dallas and get to the finals. So to me, I don't know where to put them, so I'm just going to put, this is an average spot. They're averaging second or finalist, so I'm going to put them, well, let's say in the first round they play against a wild card team. Well, I don't even know, because I think, let's say they play against Winnipeg in the first round. And if they play Winnipeg in the first round, do they beat them? Well, you know what? No. I'm going to put them in the conference, because even if they lose to Dallas in the first round, or the second round, or if they make it to the conference, they play Vegas, I don't think they beat Dallas or Vegas. So I will put them in the conference. So that's where I'll put them. And last but not least, the current greatest team in the league, the Boston Bruins. And this team is perfectly built for the playoffs. I'm going to put them there. The Boston Bruins, this is the pinnacle type of team to make it into the playoffs and do really well. This is exactly what you want. They have an A and B goaltending. They have just the whole system is perfect. And I have nothing no flaws with the Bruins. Absolutely nothing. I mean, when your team's doing this good, what are they, like 22-3 or something? I don't even know. When a team's doing this good, I can't flaw them, you know? I can't say, well, their goaltending is a weakness, you know? Like, a team playing this good, like when Tampa Bay was doing the same thing when they tied the record for that year. Like, what are you going to say that's bad about this team? Like, you're going to say goaltending is a problem? No. Are you going to say defense is a problem? No. Are you going to say offense is a problem? No. Like, maybe you could say, like, oh, down in the deeps. Like, yeah, that's where it matters. But a team like the Bruins, I mean, you have Bergeron and Krejci. Like, you have two solid centermen and Charlie Coyle on the third line. And then you have Hampus Lindholm and Charlie McAvoy on defense. Like, and then Swayman and Olmark in net. Like, they just have so many. They're just so. They are a. I don't even know. In my head, I want to say a brick wall, or more like they're like a wall of cement. You know, like you're gonna you want to, or some sort of strong liquid or whatever. You know, you're going to run through them, right? But if you get through that first layer, you got to keep going through the second layer, and then you finally got to get to the end. You're gonna be already dead by the time you get there. The Bruins are just really good. And that's really the only thing I can say about them. The Bruins are really good. So that's all I'm going to say about them. So this is, I got no more things. This is my current Stanley Cup odds right now. I think the finalists, I think this is pretty good. I feel pretty good about this. I mean, of course, a team like Toronto, you might say are low. A team like New York or the Oilers. But some teams, they got to lose in the first round. And this year, if the Oilers, let's say, play against Vegas, they're going to lose. If the Rangers play up against, let's say, the New Jersey Devils, I think they're going to lose. Or the Bruins. I just don't see them winning those games. So this is my current Stanley Cup odds. And that's all I have to say. So I guess thank you for watching this video. Please make sure you click that red subscribe button to get your free subscription. Remember, it's free. You can always get rid of it. You can always watch another one of these videos and then unclick it. Why the heck not? So you can do that, but make sure you also leave a like, not a dislike, but you can go down below to the comment section and leave in any comment. Leave any comments, concessions, I haven't done this in a while. Comments, concerns, suggestions, reviews, feedbacks, or other types of rants, tangents, and opinions. And until next, and make sure while you're down there, tell me who do you think has what is the worst thing I put on this board, and tell me what an idiot I am. Tell me. Down below, tell me, this idiot, what I did wrong. Tell me. Please tell me down below how stupid I am for putting your team all the way down here. So thank you for watching this video. Until next time, I have been your dapperly dressed host, Owen, and I am back, and for good. And have a great day, and ta-ta for now.